Hey, Roger Martin here for Billings, Montana. Boom, let's do this X-22 reports. Let's get a good cap on this. Golden Globe Awards and this comedian. He's letting us know what's going on. 14 million viewers. Time to waken up America. Let's hear what they have to say.
Do you think the Patriots have the ability to use certain personalities in Hollywood to push their agenda? I do believe so. Now, Ricky Gervais, he was hosting the Golden Globe Awards, and he came out and he said a couple of things. Now, a lot of individuals, since he's a comedian, they think these are jokes. A lot of times you can mask the real important issues with a joke. There was a time when Trump was roasting Hillary Clinton. Everyone laughed. They thought he was joking. They all knew it was true, and they laughed about it. Trump was completely serious about it. I do believe Ricky Gervais was completely serious. He talked about Epstein, how we all know that he didn't kill himself. He talked about how Hollywood is a bunch of perverts, how some of the individuals didn't take the Lolita Express to get to Epstein Island. Some had other travel arrangements and they went to the island. I mean, think about what he's saying here. He also told the audience that Amazon, Apple, Disney, well, they all contract out and they use child labor in China and many other countries, sweatshops. And if you're going to come up here and accept a award, don't get all political because you have no idea what you're talking about. You're a hypocrite. Just accept your award, say thank you to your God, say thank you to your producer and your.
Anyhow, let's go on. So a little bit of the truth there. Let's go on to another part. I think this is going to start wakening people up on their subconscious level and otherwise. Here's another important one. This guy's from Missouri, and he gave Pelosi 25 days to get this done. This was started on Friday. He's got 25 days to get the articles of impeachment over, or instead he's going to vote on uh, a resolution to kill it. It's about time. Let's go here further.
Required by the U.S. Constitution, he will introduce a measure to dismiss the fake articles of impeachment. Now, he gave her this warning on Friday. And he said, listen, you have a couple of days here. I think 3. Today is January 6th. Your time is up. So she was put on notice. Now, the Senate, they adopted a set of 26 rules that govern all impeachment proceedings, known as the Rules of Procedure and Practice in the Senate when sitting on impeachment trials. Those rules presume prompt delivery of the articles of impeachment to the Senate following their adoption by the House.
Presume, but this has never been done before. But this guy's actions, and the Senate's actions, is going to give her 25 days to get her crap together and give him or kill it. So let's move on. This guy's for a senator from Missouri. Well done. Let's move on here. Paul Speragian, testified Biden's advisor on Ukrainian energy promise. Amos Hosteen, who is 15, with Biden's Senator Hunter, sweetheart deal with corrupt Barishma oligarch. Anyhow, it's all coming out. Um, more and more of this is coming out.
His son Hunter's sweetheart deal with corrupt Burisma oligarch. Hochstein briefing Biden on 2015 trip to Ukraine.
All this is coming out. Let's move on. People are digging more and more into this. Stupid Bloomberg, Texas shooting. Only the police should have their wealth. These guys didn't have the weapons to shoot this guy. He could have killed a lot more people. That's how stupid these guys are. It's all going to hit the fan. And Nancy Pelosi, declaration of war power, she wants to uh, stop the president doing some of the stuff he's doing. It's all going to bite her back in the butt. There's going to be some major battles over this. The president's got powers that she has no control over. It's just the way it is. All these, Q talks about all this stuff, this money that's went out, and it goes back to these politicians. All these abuses of power and money laundering.
Distribution of funds. Who accounts for the funds? Who has access to the funds? Who really has access to the funds?
Remember, this is a form of money laundering that we're using taxpayer monies to do. This is welcome to the real world, and this is as corrupt as it gets. Let's move on. This guy, pretty smart, is talking about how they voted on this, the Sunnis and the Kurdish and so forth. They're actually in favor of what Trump did. This didn't hit the news either. Let's move on. Iran has been doing a lot of stuff with Iraq and pushing their buttons. Anyhow, let's move on here. Let's get to another section here. What we need to understand is we need to have weapons. This stuff in Virginia, the crap is hitting the fan there. They've got to do something with that legislation and kill it. People have a right to bear arms, protect themselves. Same with this Texas church. Trump commended them for their swift action on this. Saved some people's lives, even though 2 people were killed. To right to bear arms and to do it in public places is essential anymore, the way these wackos are doing things with weapons. It's not the weapons, it's the mental illness and the insanity of the individuals using the weapon. All right. More and more coming out on Biden. More and more coming out to fight Nancy Pelosi in the House. You notice how these other individuals are not standing up and really backing and pushing Pelosi either. Fallout is coming politically. You wait and see. It's Martin from Billings, Montana. Let's get you a little more information and we'll go from there. Good day. Now this is part 2 of this. I'll put it in one tape. Operation Freedom. Here they give some great stuff. This Soleimani had many hats, and this is brought out here. But he was a snake and a mastermind and did a lot of stuff. And the mainstream media just hates Trump for bumping him off, but he should have been bumped off a long time. Unfortunately, Bush and Obama both protected him. Pretty pathetic.
Poetry and a kind gentleman who was worried about being left behind. I kid you not. But what do you expect out of the bought-off lamestream fake media and their little tentacle, the New York Times? Because the bought-off lamestream fake media is nothing more than a tentacle of the deep state. They're a propaganda arm. Yet, people continue to read the New York Times and, what's even worse, believe what's there. Well, they portrayed Soleimani as a kind man, a gentleman, a lover of poetry. Right, lover of poetry. It's a mass murderer. He wore a number of hats. The hat that the deep state wants to just place on him and say this is what he was a general in the Iranian military, in particular the Iranian Republican Guard Corps, and in sub-particular their Quds Force. And they never go into detail about the Quds Force. The Quds Force is a terrorist organization, period.
Quds Force, a terrorist organization. But you heard it there? Wow. That's the truth they don't get into.
Now that's the hat that they want to put on him. But he wore multiple hats. And the other hat he wore, which was even a bigger hat, was, I believe, Soleimani was the head of terror operations for the international deep state.
Wow. Head of the terror operations for the international deep state. Wow, you heard it here. Operation Freedom. Wow.
Period. In my lifetime, and I'm an old guy, I believe the takedown of Soleimani is the takedown of the number one terrorist in my lifetime.
Wow.
He's that evil.
Number one terrorist in his lifetime. Wow. Probably my age or more.
And he's that sinister. Soleimani was responsible for tens of thousands of people's deaths. Not just in Iraq or Iran or the Middle East, but around the world.
Wow. Let's move on.
Guy's finger was in every terrorist pie. He's been around for 40 years. He started his reign of terror for the deep state back in 1979. And it ended on January 2nd, 2020. It's been depicted that President Trump, if you listen to the people that go to the Golden Globes or or read the New York Times or on MSNBC or whatever we want to call it, MSDNC, that President Trump could well have started World War III by the assassination of Soleimani. Well, there's another way to look at it. And I believe one that's more analytical and more factually based. As I understand it from my sources, Soleimani was in the end stage of planning for massive terror events, not just in the Middle East, but around the world.
Wow.
That were all tied together. The goal of which was not only to inflict death and destruction and chaos, which is the business model of the deep state. And as the head of terror operations for the deep state, that was his gig. But it was also to push the hands of the leaders in the West, in particular President Trump, into what the deep state has craved for years, World War III. That the death and destruction and the chaos and the magnitude of the terrorist attacks that Soleimani was in the process of implementing would be so huge, there would be no other option than massive war.
Wow.
And remember, the deep state loves massive war because out of war, they get more power, more control, more money. And their added benefit, as they see it, is that millions of us, the non-elites, that they call useless eaters, millions of us, die.
Wow.
They're evil.
They are evil and they are sick. No two ways about it.
And Soleimani was the head of top terror operations for that organization. Prior to him dying, the United States Embassy in Baghdad was attacked. The person that led the attack, that was on the ground, Soleimani was involved reportedly in a command and control, if you will, role, off-site. But the person on site in the attack at our embassy in Baghdad was an individual by the name of Hadi al-Amiri. Hadi al-Amiri. Now, he happened to be arrested through our military the night Soleimani was killed. But remember, our embassy was attacked on December 31st, 2019. The reason why you haven't heard hardly anything about this guy in the bought-off lamestream fake media, tentacle of the deep state, is because there are pictures that have been circulated of al-Amiri being a guest at the Obama White House in 2011 at a meeting in the Oval Office with other dignitaries from the Middle East. He was there. Reportedly, so was Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. So the bought-off lamestream fake media has been instructed by their handlers in the deep state, don't talk about this al-Amiri guy. because there's photo evidence linking him to Obama, Clinton, and Biden.
Obama, Clinton, and Biden. What about Bush?
This from Breitbart. Iranian militia leader leading Iraq U.S. Embassy raid, this on December 31st, 2019, listed as Obama White House guest. Iranian militia leader Hadi al-Amiri, one of the several identified as leading an attack on U.S. Embassy in Baghdad on Tuesday, December 31st, 2019, reportedly visited the White House in 2011 during the presidency of Barack Obama. Some people are surprised by that. Why would you be surprised by that? Barack Obama had a number of members of the Muslim Brotherhood in his own administration.
He sure did. He's a terrorist president if there ever was one. And I believe he should be executed for his terrorist reign and destruction of our military and abuses towards Israel and other allies. He supported terrorism in several forms. And no one's ever said anything about it in the mainstream media. That shows you they're in cahoots with it.
The Muslim Brotherhood, a terrorist organization. Barack Obama installed the Muslim Brotherhood, along with Hillary Clinton, his Secretary of State, in Egypt. Now, the citizens of Egypt were so outraged over this, they ended up throwing out Morsi from the Muslim Brotherhood out of Egypt. But Obama was responsible for installing him.
Yeah. Media doesn't even talk about it. We're going to end that here. We'll go to the second part of this thing. We'll assume this last statement here. Obama was involved in weaponizing ISIS also. Weaponizing ISIS.
And Obama was also involved in weaponizing that benevolent terror group, ISIS. Many people outside that window believe that's heresy, that's hyperbole, that's conspiracy theory. No, it might be conspiracy, but it's conspiracy fact. In fact, that's the reason why General Michael Flynn has been one of the reasons why he's been targeted by the deep state. They didn't want him in that position of National Security Advisor to Donald Trump because he knew where all the bodies were buried.
Right on.
General Flynn, when he was director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, testified to Congress behind closed doors under oath. And he outed about how Barack Obama and his Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was involved in a weapons running operation through Benghazi. He blew the whistle. And for that, the deep state decided they were going to make him pay.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt about that. None whatsoever. Let's go to part 2. You heard it here. Support Operation Freedom. Let's go to the second part. All right, let's continue with part 2.
That were in the field of operations that night that talk about the stand down that was ordered through the Obama administration.
We're talking about Benghazi here. And now General Flynn knew that Secretary Clinton was running weapons to ISIS through Benghazi.
Why did the Obama administration order a stand down? Because they wanted to tie up loose ends. It's that simple. Let me give you Benghazi in a nutshell. Benghazi was a weapons running operation overseen by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. They wanted to get rid of Gaddafi. Why? Gaddafi wasn't playing ball with the deep state. He was turning in terrorists. He was talking about starting a alternative currency system, not just in Libya, but around the African continent, of a gold-backed dinar.
Gold-backed dinar. He wasn't playing, and so they bumped him. That's what the deep state does. You don't play, they bump you, they blackmail you, they get rid of you somehow.
Use the central bank systems that the deep state has set up worldwide. He also had vast resources, not only in oil, but he had a huge stack of gold and silver. And the deep state wanted that. Christopher Stevens, the United States ambassador to Libya, was essentially the first ambassador to al-Qaeda. The Obama administration, well,
Ambassador to Al-Qaeda. Oh my God.
their implementation arm of getting rid of Gaddafi was al-Qaeda. And Stevens was tasked with running weapons to al-Qaeda to lead to the removal of Gaddafi and the murder of Gaddafi. What did Hillary say when she cackled? We came, we saw, and we killed him. Yeah. The video's on the internet. Look it up. Spoken like a soulless deep state puppet. Stevens ran...
Yeah, she don't care who she kills. And stupid people in the United States wanted her as a president. She should be hung.
weapons to al-Qaeda on behalf of the Obama administration. They overthrew Gaddafi. That Libya is a flaming disaster right now. Thousands, many thousands have died.
The news don't tell you that. Libya's a disaster. Many thousands have died, thanks to a large part by Obama and Hillary Clinton and what they did and set up in their country, money-wise and weapon-wise.
Deep State's fine with that. You and I are outraged about it, but they're just fine. It's just another day at the office for the Deep State dweebs. He ran arms to al-Qaeda. They killed Gaddafi. Stole his gold, stole his silver, stole his oil, stole the resources.
This is what the deep state does with wars. They kill people, they steal resources. It's just a business model for them. When you start studying how corrupt the wars are, it's just steal people's gold or treasures or other things and use the front of the war to do it and get away with it. The embezzlement and the corruption and the crimes that they've committed through the front of war. It's ridiculous. It's criminal and it's satanic.
Plunder the country. That's what the Deep State's about. And then Stevens was tasked to getting those arms back and recycling them to Turkey. Remember, one of the last people he met with was a dignitary from Turkey. Through Turkey into Syria to weaponize ISIS. ISIS was weaponized and funded and trained through the United States as well as through many of our, quote, allies in the Middle East. But Stevens got cold feet and decided he didn't want to participate in that any longer. And he started to talk and chirp. Talk to people outside of the Obama-Clinton orbit, and that didn't go over well. With the Clintons, with Obama, or with the deep state. They had to get rid of Stevens. So who did they choose? The head of terror operations, of course. It has been pointed out in a number of different articles, one of which was done by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones on theamericanreport.org. Go to theamericanreport.org and there's a slider that goes by in that Benghazi article. Hit it, read it. But they talk about this. Soleimani ran that terror operation, the takedown in Benghazi, and he was actually on the ground. He was financed to do that. There are many people that believe that part of the $1.5 billion that Obama handed over on those pallets of cash to Iran, and that's just the beginning of the amount of money that went to Iran. Some of that money ended up in Soleimani's pockets, bank accounts. Well, he was in charge of terror operations, and he had a successful event in Benghazi. 4 Americans were killed, including the one that they had targeted, Stevens. Many more would have died if it were not for Ty Woods, Glenn Doherty, and many of the other patriots that fought that night. But as our whistleblowers pointed out, and Charles Woods pointed out, to protect the terrorists, a stand-down order was given. Stand down. To not interdict the terrorists in Benghazi. Very different than what happened in Baghdad. Remember, when our embassy was attacked on December 31st, 2019 in Baghdad, President Trump within an hour had Apaches shooting flares off and mobilized 100 Marines to secure the embassy. What the whistleblowers presented and Charles Woods presented is that, well, when they tried to get people to lend support to the compound in Benghazi, the annex, no. Stand down. Why? Because they had to tie up loose ends. It's that evil. It's that sinister. And that's what it's about with the deep state. The night of the Soleimani takedown, January 2nd, I sent a note to Charles Woods and to the whistleblowers that I've interviewed. Here's what I said. I believe what happened tonight in Iraq was a direct result of your efforts in bringing the truth forward on Benghazi. Soleimani is dead tonight because of your courage. Ty Woods and Glenn Doherty, just sent their message to the world. It is a safer, happier new year already. You see, by taking out Soleimani, I have said this before and I'll say it again. President Trump, I believe, prevented massive terror events that would have led to World War III. And this was published by Jim Heft, revealed former Al-Quds leader Soleimani planned and financed terror attack on U.S. Benghazi consulate, resulting in 4 dead Americans. Soleimani was responsible for hundreds of American deaths in the region. General Qasem Soleimani planned and financed the attacks in the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya. According to author Ken Timmerman, through the New York Post, quote, Soleimani has orchestrated attacks in everywhere from Lebanon to Thailand. The U.S. Department of Justice accuses him of trying to hire a Mexican drug cartel to blow up the Saudi ambassador to the United States while he was in Washington, D.C. My sources, meanwhile, say Soleimani was involved in an even more direct attack on the United States. Benghazi, the killing of Ambassador Chris Stevens and the 3 other Americans. Immediately, to spin the narrative on MSNBC, or whatever you want to call it, MSDNC, Susan Rice, the former National Security Advisor to Barack Obama, about the Soleimani killing, stated, quote, the Obama administration was not presented with an opportunity by our intelligence community or by the military to strike Qasem Soleimani, end quote. I sent that to a very, very well-known, high-level military intelligence official. Quote, Dave, they have no soul. Multiple opportunities were present over 8 years with Obama.
So Obama had no soul, neither did Hillary Clinton. They had multiple opportunities to bump this guy off and never did. I'm going to end it here. I don't know what else he's got. It's pretty powerful. Now, just the question I had. Bush didn't either, both years. He wasn't going to put this guy out. They supported him, monetarily and weapon-wise. Think about that. I hate the deep state now. Look at they are. It's pretty sad.
And they were not about to take down the head of terror operations for the deep state, because that would be biting the hand that fed them. It's that simple. And that's what the bought-off lamestream fake media will never tell you. I hope you'll join us on our platform. I hope you'll join us for the radio show every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern.
Support them. I'm in a financial mess. I can't, but I recommend it. You get stuff here you can't get anywhere else because of his inside information. Swaj Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day. Support Operation Freedom. And the world is a better place. Trump just avoided mass terrorist actions and the implementation of World War III. Obama is still encouraging implementation of World War III. The little dictator, the little SOB, needs to be strung up by the neck until death, in my opinion. And so does Hillary Clinton. Needs to be strung up by the neck until death, openly, for the treasonous acts he's done. And in my opinion, so does Bush Jr. But we know that's never going to happen, don't we? Probably not. It's Raj Mark from Billings, Montana.